What's up, Instagram? All right, second live broadcast of the day. Practicing what I preach and doing this a lot because I know Fridays, okay, are a great time to get your attention because everyone, instead of working, is checking out Instagram. So I want to give you the context to this, and then if you've got questions, I'll answer. I'm going to put, if you have questions, ask away. I am answering. You know what I'm dying to know is if any of the rest of you have done a single live broadcast ever or would consider doing one. Be a good question, a good open question. But that's not what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is I recorded a podcast earlier today. I called it Why Your Website Will Still Be Working in 2055. And that's not a typo, 2055. And what occurred to me is that I have not done a live broadcast. I've not done a podcast episode. I've not done an episode period on just the basics and getting the basics right. Okay. And you're like, oh, the basics. Are you kidding me? I've been doing this for 10 years. I know the basics. Thanks for saying that, DJ. Yeah, I know the basics, right? Like I've been doing this for a long time. I've got the basics covered, but you need to hear this because I think it's profound. I think it's a profundity. Okay. And I'm not kidding. I've got to be in like the top like 100 in the world that has talked to more artists and photographers over the last 10 years and probably ever as a result of technology. I've talked to so many, you guys. I have talked to artists from every single solitary season of life. Okay. From every season of life, 40, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, a couple of times some folks in their hundreds, okay? And you do that and pattern recognition becomes a real thing. And I firmly believe that there are some cautionary tales in here, which is why the basics, getting the basics right is so important. So I want to talk about this, rant on this a little bit. You guys can definitely leave, questions. And this is a great one already, and I'm going to deal with this. Let's see if I can get these on the screen, by the way. It would be so much cooler if I could get it on the screen because this is just going to, in fact, I know I can get it on the screen. I just have to like paste it into this thing. It's kind of a pain in the butt. Hold on. No, I just do a comment and I leave it like this. Let's see if it works. No, because it's Instagram. It's not letting me do that. That is so lame. It's all right. I'm going to figure out how to get it on the screen. Okay. So this is a great one, and I'm going to deal with this just right before it comes. So Ian's like, we don't own our websites either. It's owned by the host, like yourselves or Squarespace, for example. Technically, that is correct in terms of you can't take the website with you, but that's utterly, totally, and completely immaterial, Ian. And the reason is you own the URL. Okay. If you own the URL, you own all of the content, you own the reputation that website has with Google, right? And with Bing, you own all of the links, right? And no one can take it away from you. So if you're with us, you could decide one point in time, you're going to leave. But all you would have to do is just tell your AI, hey, go and get all of my content off of this website. I'm going to move somewhere else. And then you would have it all and you would just reconstitute it wherever you wanted to host it. So that's like the important difference. And it's a hugely important difference because everywhere else you don't own it, right? And hi from Windsor, UK. I love the UK, huge fan. My children are actually British citizens, believe it or not, because my wife's a British citizen. But I want to get into this rant a little bit, and then I'll circle back and answer any questions, right? So, okay, where is this all coming from? As I said, I've interviewed thousands of artists over the years, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands from every season of life. And where this really got profound, you guys, was during COVID, because during COVID, one, live streaming was sort of still in its infancy in 2020. Certainly it was on Facebook and Instagram. I don't even know if they let you do it on Instagram, probably just Facebook. Anyway, I would turn the camera on and start talking, and like there would be like 400 to 500 people. Like I had more people watching these things than watching the local television broadcast in like a town. Like it was amazing. It was incredible. And it was during COVID, like where it really, really hit me like a ton of bricks, this cautionary tale, why I want you to focus on the basics. Okay. during COVID, these artists that were coming onto the broadcast were just absolutely panicking. Okay. They were panicking because they were locked inside. The art gallery in which their art was in was locked inside. They had never spent a day in their lives marketing their art at all. So they had no email list, no website, nothing. Right. And all of a sudden, the rules of the game were changed. Something was just taken away from them, like in an instant. Like you cannot go and get your art out of there. Your income source that was somewhat steady is just completely gone. And they were terrified, right? Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills. Da, 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 da. And it was just COVID. So it was just an extraordinary time, right? But it made a profound effect on me. And that in combination to every single solitary week on Monday, I host webinars for folks that are like interested in, signing up for art storefronts, want to get more information, this and that. So every week I'm meeting new folks, okay, and they're amazing artists and they're incredible people, and sometimes they're in their 60s and sometimes they're in their 70s and sometimes they're in their 80s. I met this beautiful gal from Switzerland who was 84, and she has this incredible art collection. And she comes on this call and she's asking for advice, like, what do I do? I've got all these pieces of art, but I didn't grow up with social media. And I mean, starting at 84 to build an email list, to get attention, to start marketing on sales. There's some amazing folks that are in their mid 80s that can just do that. And I hope to be one of those one day, but I probably drink too much, so it probably won't happen. But the thought of being in that age and having to start essentially from scratch to try and get the word out by your art is like a staggering thing to contemplate. Like, you do not want to be in that situation, right? You want to make sure that as an artist, as a photographer, as a creative, that you are never in that situation. And there's two primary reasons that like underpin that for me. Okay. And the first is that this world, this gifting, this way that God made you, or the Big Bang made you, or Buddha, or whoever made you, whatever religion you believe in, your gifting is unlike just about any other industry out there that I've seen that I like fully understand. I mean, except maybe it's just artists in general, maybe it's musicians, maybe it's like stand-up comedians like fall into this bucket too, right? But I'm good at marketing. Okay. I have friends that are in real estate. I've got friends that are bartenders and accountants and everything else. All of those folks, all of us normal, non-creatively gifted folks, when we retire, that's it. We're hanging up our hats. We're moving on. Like, I'm going to take up gardening. I'm going to take up drinking. I'm going to drinking in the sun. I'm going to take up cooking, surfing again. Who knows? I'm going to, if I can still do it. That's what I'm going to do when I retire. Okay. You guys are not like that. You're just not. There is no retirement for artists. Okay. And I used artists as a blanket statement here. There's no retirement for you guys. You are going to be creating art until the last minute that you have on this planet. That is just how you guys go. And that is such a unique thing because it takes like the normal time horizon that we all assume we have for a career, and it stretches it out really to the eternity of your entire lives, right? Like, let's say I'm 47 and, let's just say I'm supposed to retire at 60. I don't see that, but 13 years I have left, right? I have 13 years left in my life until I'm going to retire. Like, that's not that much time, right? Better get to getting. But if I was an artist, it would mean I have 40 years left. I've got 40 years left to get the basics right. When you're dealing with like a time horizon that's that long, it underscores how important it is getting the basics correct. Like, you are going to be just as motivated in your 80s to create and get feedback on your creation as you were in your 70s and your 60s and your 50s and your 40s and your 30s. It just doesn't leave you guys. And I see this week in, week out. And I've seen it like more and more and more and more and more and more and more. And it's made such a profound effect on me that I feel like this is why I've got to pound these basics in. Okay. This is why I've got to talk about how important that they are, because, people get so focused and they get so wrapped around the axle on the macro stuff, right? And like, okay, I love being a realist. Okay, we are in a dumpy economic time and have been for a couple of years. Everyone that's honest with themselves knows this, right? Yes, we're at war with Iran. Yes, gas prices are out of control. I live in California. It cost me $7.50 a gallon to fill up my car. You know, the real estate market, interest rates are like the highest they've been in 25 years. You know, that's a disaster. All of my team that works in Europe or works in Asia are all saying the same things in the market that they're in. We're in a tough time, right? In tough economic times, when you're in tough economic times, you're like, this is not the time to be taking on risk. This is not the time where I need to be working on this other thing. I've got to focus on feeding my family and da-da-da-da-da. And it's not that those things aren't right. They are right, but they're not right. They're not as right, okay, when the time horizon is 20, 30, 40, 50 years, okay? The time horizon is so long that my position is that creatives have to nail the basics, and I'm going to go into the basics in just a second, okay? And that this trinity doesn't change. You will always need attention and eyeballs on your art. You will always want attention and eyeballs on your art. You crave it at a deep level. And you don't just crave the attention, you want the sales too. And you don't ever want the sales to stop, and nor should you, right? Because that's the nature of the business. And so that's one part of it. The other part of it is, after all these artists I've interviewed, going back, like, you know, I've been in this industry for like 20 years now, maybe even 25, like, the basics haven't really fundamentally changed over the years. As much as technology has changed, technology has gone crazy. I mean, especially with AI, it's even going crazier now, right? But the fundamentals have just not changed. And so my position is that you've got to nail the fundamentals. You've got to nail the basics, okay? I have 6 basics, and I'll cover them lightly here, and then on the back end, I'll dive into them more, okay? 1, you have to have a website you own, okay? And I want to say this up front. Some of you guys are listening to this that are customers. Some of you guys are listening to this that might one day become customers. Some of you are listening to this that might never be customers. Do not take the advice cynically. Would I love to see you sign up for art storefronts? Yes. If you're already part of the family, awesome. Glad you're here. Doesn't matter if you're not ever going to be part of the family. The rules are the rules. You have to have a website. That website needs to be one that you own, okay? You do not want to build a castle. Your art business is a castle. You do not want your castle on rented land. The only way in today's day and age to ensure it is not on rented land is to own your own website, own your own URL, okay? Very, very important. I'll get into more detail on this in a second, okay? Yeah, in my notes here, it's like it needs to be a storefront too, not a brochure. We'll get into that. Okay, fine. I agree with that. Number 2, print on demand. Okay. You guys, print on demand is the greatest thing that has happened to artists in forever. Okay. In forever. Really just in anyone that sells that can do print on demand. Like, I remember I was in college when the first inkjet printers started coming out. Okay. Like the first inkjet printers that could actually like reproduce art, right? And obviously no one liked the word of the inkjet prints, right? And so everyone was like, let's find a better word. And somebody stole the French word gicler, which means to spatter ink. And they've forever been called giclés since, right? And back then it was only canvas and paper. And then over the years, we got acrylic and metal and better canvas and better paper, better inks and coatings and the whole thing. Okay, fine. Let's table all that. Before that, it was either originals or it was lithographs or serigraphs. You had to do big runs. You had to come out of your pocket a tremendous amount of money. If you wanted to do non-wall art stuff, like you wanted to do a calendar or a photo book, that was cost prohibitive. You had to hold the order. There were huge minimum orders that you had to do and all that. Like, print on demand is the single solitary greatest thing that has ever happened to you guys, because it allows you to carry a huge lineup of products without having to order anything, pay for anything, stock anything, or worry about anything, okay? And to be honest with you, I don't think there's an artist I know, the ones that are doing 5K a year, the ones that are doing 50K a year, 500K a year, 50 million a year, that are not leveraging POD, because it is just too intelligent a way for you to establish a range of pricing, for you to build a price ladder. So the lower priced items establish the value for your higher price items, right? Like non-wall art, small prints, we're getting over $100. Medium-sized prints, we're getting close to $1,000. Limited editions, we're now over $1,000. Boom, you're into your originals, right? Like that's a really hard thing for any business to do. Okay, that is a really, really hard thing for any business to do. Okay, and guess what? The person that buys the $40 print today, the $80 print, or the $200 print is the one that comes back 5 years later and buys the $40,000 original, buys the $10,000 original, buys whatever you charge. That's how it works. You cannot afford in today's day and age to not take advantage of that. Okay. You have to, this is another reason why you need a website, because it's the easiest way to do it. But you have to capture email every which way you can, and you can't ever stop. Okay. I might go as far to say that like the trifecta is really email, the cell phone number, the snail mail address. The email, you can always get in touch with that buyer again. The cell phone, you can always get in touch with that buyer again. You can text them, you can call them. The snail mail address, yeah, they might move, but you can still send postcards, and most of the time that will work, right? It's the only thing that we own as creators. Like we don't own our Instagram followers. We don't own our Facebook fans, YouTube subscribers, subscribers, those. You don't own any of that. Any of that could be rug pulled at any moment in time, right? And you have to operate. COVID taught me that like the rug pull can happen. It can be a black swan event like COVID. No one expected that. No one knew that was coming. No one knew it was going to be that severe. It just popped up and boom. We were all locked in our houses like criminals. You have to be capturing email every which way you can. Okay. It's a basic, it's fundamental. It is so important, right? So just know that primarily happens on your website, but it happens everywhere. You got to do it every which way as possible. You have to run marketing and sales campaigns. Okay. I'm sorry, but you guys are not artists and photographers. Okay. There's two kinds of artists and photographers. There's artists and photographers that do not run marketing and sales campaigns. We call those hobbyists. And then there are artists and photographers that have art and photography businesses. If you are the latter, you have a business. Businesses run marketing and sales campaigns. That's what they do because they have to get the word out. And somewhere along the line, artists have been taught that that is not something that they have to engage in, right? And it is so fundamentally incorrect. It's unbelievable. And so let's just put that one to bed and say that that's what it is. Okay, that's what it is. Next, you have to have a story, you guys. You have to have a story. I have to know who you are as a human being. I have to know what makes you tick. Okay. A website is critically important for this because you can tell your story on that website, right? Your social media is great for that because you can tell your story on the social media. Where do the vast majority of artists and photographers utterly, totally, and completely blow it? They don't understand that your art and your creations are the commercials. They're the commercials. Who you are as an artist, what you do, what your interests are, where your creative eye comes from, you being vulnerable, your peccadillos, your pets, your hobbies is the program. Okay. A television channel is not going to be successful if it just shows commercials. Nobody wants to see that. A television channel airs programs so that they can charge money for commercials. Your art are the commercials. And yet how many of you every single solitary day are just posting commercial after commercial after commercial after commercial after commercial? How many of you on your websites have just commercial after commercial after commercial after commercial? Where's the program? Where is your personality? Where is what you're interested in? Where is what makes you someone likable that I could get to know? Okay. And that one fundamentally throws people for a serious loop, but it is absolutely facts. And it is the primary reason that most artists and photographers take up social media marketing, take up marketing in general, don't get results, and are like, obviously this doesn't work. The algorithm's against me. Social media is a sham. I don't want to do this. Wrong. You went on there onto the television and just showed commercial after commercial after commercial. And I'm sorry, that's not the way that it works. That might be a bitter pill to swallow for some, but that is how it goes. Those are just absolute facts. Okay. Absolute facts. Where was I? Next one. This is the other one. You have to show up consistently. Okay. You can't go dark. And I see this so often and it breaks my heart, right? Because, like, look, we all, life happens. Okay. Life happens. Some years are going to be better than other years. Okay. That's just the way that it shakes out. And that is totally okay. You just can't afford to go dark because it's not about 1 year. It's about 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. You can't afford to go dark. And that's literally the 6 basics. That's it. If you have that going on, you're good. I don't see any of these 6 changing as a result of anything that's coming technologically speaking. I just don't. Whether your website moves, whether website formats change, it doesn't even matter. The website is just a proxy for a place that you own, okay, that can't be taken away from you, that has your creations, and that the various different search engines are aware of it. And it's Google today, Google plus AI, the AI chatbots, Perplexity, whatever. I use them all. They all still work off of what is online. And that's not, doesn't look to be changing anytime soon. Okay. I love this analogy of, I live in California, so wine's a big thing in California. And I live in Southern California. I don't live in Napa Valley, but everyone still talks about wine. Everyone's still passionate about wine. We have like own wine area, whatever. I don't want to talk about the wine areas in Southern California. They're not anywhere near as good as Napa. But in the wine world, people are always talking about a vintage, right? Like 85 was a great vintage. 92 is an incredible vintage. 2005 was an incredible vintage. 2001 is drinkable, but not a great vintage, right? An art career, when you have the right like timing perspective, you realize it's no different than a vineyard, right? And most vines in a vineyard go 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, I think sometimes all the way up to like 120 years old. Some years are going to be better than others, okay? Some years, the economy is going to suck and life happens and you were taking care of your mom, your significant other got sick, you got so burnt out, other tragedy happened, success happened, whatever happened. And that was just a bad vintage year. And that's okay. That's totally okay. That's going to be part of it. But guess what? Because you own the website, because you're staying consistent, okay? Because you're still gathering emails, even in that crappy year, that year was just a bad vintage. And that's part of the deal. But guess what? The next year, the grapes are going to grow again, and we're going to have another vintage. The year after that, the grapes are going to grow again, and we're going to have another vintage, and on and on and on and on and on. The years are just striking, right? And again, it's like this time horizon that no one ever talks about this stuff. You know, if you're 45, you got 40 years left. If you're 55, you got 30 years left. If you're 65, you got 20 plus years left. Like, you're not the end of anything. You are not at the end of anything. You are mid-vine, right? Most of you guys are not even mid-vine. Some of you are mid-vine. Okay. And that needs to be said. Like, it's profound. And this is the more in-depth part of the basics, but I would say like the basics haven't really changed. Like I said, in 25 years, like this advice was just as pertinent in 2000 as it is right now in 2026, as it will be in 2055. Yes, the window dressing changes a little bit, but not that much, you guys, not that much. And everyone tends to look at it as like a 6 months decision, and it's just not. It's a 30-year one. I've ranted about this, but yeah, like a 45-year-old artist has 40 more Q4s to go through, 40 more Mother's Day, 40 more Christmases, 40 New Year's, whatever. It's like, that is a staggeringly big number. And if you play the long game, you guys are all going to do great, right? The website I've talked about, like, not building your castle on rented land, but it needs to be said again and again and again and again. You just have to own a URL and have a website that no one can take away from you where you're doing the work, right? And congratulations, Art Mind to Soul sold an original yesterday. I love hearing that, even in bad economic times, right? Like, that's totally okay. Social platforms can ban you, galleries can drop you, marketplace sites can disappear overnight. You have to have what you own, right? You have to own the thing that can never be taken away from you. And that's just so, so important. Okay, I want to go to the next one. Yeah, POD. And I ranted about this too earlier, which is like, you guys, every successful artist I know, the biggest of the biggest, Wyland, Gray Malin, Peter Lick, like they are all leveraging print on demand to the hilts. Okay. Because they have an art business and they know that they are going to sell at all ranges and they don't care. They'll sell at all ranges all day long. Okay. And they know that some small portion of these people are going to come back and buy again and again and again. And then they've got a collector, and the collector is with them for life. Right. And, you know, the ladder that POD gives you, it's just staggering. I talked about this, the trifecta, right? That an email plus a phone number plus a mailing address is literally the best that we can do right now in 2026. Okay. In having attention that we own, right? Like the social networks can go away. We could lose all of that, all the fans, all the followers, all the engagement, all poof, gone. Doesn't matter. So too with a marketplace site. Or, you know, you've got a website that's up on a gallery and the gallery goes out of business and poof, everything's gone. It just underscores, do not build the castle on rented sand. You got to own the property, right? That's you owning the URL, right? Which is just so, so important. So, so important. Okay. Well, I don't know what I just did next. Yeah. And you guys, the sales campaigns, like Apple runs marketing campaigns. Tesla runs marketing campaigns. The restaurant down the street runs marketing campaigns. The plumber runs marketing campaigns. Any business runs marketing campaigns. You are businesses, each and every single solitary one of you. Okay. You have to come to terms with that, right? You have to come to terms with that. Getting good at running sales and marketing promotions does not happen overnight, and that is okay. Okay. That is okay. You've got 20, 30, 40, 50 years to get really, really good at this. And it's fundamentally so important. The first couple, they're not going to be great, right? The fifth, you're going to start looking competent. The 20th, you're going to be like, that was easy. The 50th, you have a full-blown machine at your disposal, okay? A full-blown machine that you can go back to year after year. As technology changes, you just bolt one piece out that's no longer around, you bolt another one that's in. It's just simple. It's so, so important. Yep. Your story is the program. The art is the commercials. I mean, I can't say that one enough, right? Like, if I come, you guys, if I come to your Instagram, okay, and I don't know what I just did. If I come to your Instagram and I have 30 seconds to thumb around, okay, bing, 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 and I can't learn anything about you as a human being that has nothing to do with your art, you have failed. You have failed. That means your entire page is just commercials. The algorithm doesn't reward you when you're just showing commercials, okay? Your buyers will not stick around. They don't, people don't want to be bombarded with art. I'm sorry, they don't. They just don't. And that's a hard thing to hear, I know, but it is absolute facts. They want to get to know you. You have to let people into your world. You have to be emotional. You have to be a little vulnerable. I would never be emotional, first of all, okay? Because I have no emotions. Ask my wife. But you have to be vulnerable, okay? You can be self-deprecating. You can be funny. You can show me your dog. You can show me your kids. You can show me the fact that you're a good cook, or you're a barbecue a specialist, or you like pedaling bicycles. I don't care what it is, but give me something so that I get to know who you are. Where'd you grow up? Where'd you vacation? Maybe I've been there. Maybe you live in a weird part of town. Okay. Whatever that is, it's so important. Okay. It's so important. I've got to be able to learn something from you. I just have to. And it doesn't matter what it is. Every single solitary one of us is interesting. Every single solitary one of us has a tribe. Okay. You think you're timid. It doesn't matter. Right. Yeah. Art to mind to soul says that's hard. I'm better face to face. Exactly. You're better face to face. And online is just face to face. Do not overcomplicate it. Do not overcomplicate it. Like this is the other thing that I say all the time. It's like, you know, It's just a conversation. Your marketing, your social media just needs to be a conversation, you guys. Like that's literally it. It just needs to be a conversation. If I sat down with you, okay, or to mind to soul, I am confident that if we started striking up a conversation, you would do great. We would talk about a range of things. We wouldn't just talk about your art the whole time. We talk about where you're from. We talk about if you're married. We talk about if you've got kids. We talk about where you grew up. We talk about what your favorite sports are. We talk about the politics, maybe religion. Just kidding. I know those are no-go areas. We talk about the war. We talk about whatever. We talk about it. We'd have a normal conversation. It'd be great. I'd get to know you. I'd get bonded to you. Why does no one understand that's what social media is? That's what social media is. It's just me having a conversation with you. And the minute that you guys figure this out and you stop just posting art, everything is fundamentally going to change. Everything is fundamentally going to change. You know, there's someone on here asking, like, how do I sell my paintings? You know how you sell your paintings? By selling your story, by actually telling the story. Are you telling the story? Do we know who you are, where you're from, what you do, why you do what you do, where your creative eye comes from? People do business with people they know, like, and trust. People do business with people they have things in common with. That's it. If you give me no opportunity to know, like, and trust you, because I can't find anything out, if you give me no opportunity to find something that we have in common, a place that we've both gone, a way of looking at the world that we both agree in, I am not going to do business with you. I am not going to buy your art. Quite frankly, I'm going to forget I ever saw it and move on about my life. That's what the numbers say. But nobody does that, right? It's also why you need to have a website, because you need to tell that story on there. If all artists and photographers just started approaching 100% of their marketing like they were in person having a face-to-face conversation, they would win. They would win on the socials. They would win in emails. They would win on the web. People would write them more messages. You would get more direct messages. Yeah, you would get more likes and comments and shares too. And the more real you are, especially in the age of AI, where everything can be faked, the more real you are, the more effective it is. That's it. That's it. It's not any more difficult than that. And yet no one seems to be able to do that, right? It's all like, I'm on here to just show the commercials, right? And you guys have got to stop doing that. It's why things in the business are not working, right? This is a good one too. Okay, this is a good one too. And I need to talk about this. Okay. Some of you are in a position where life is good right now. You've got time, you've got creative energy, you're hammering it. You're hammering your marketing, you're running campaigns, you're doing in-person stuff, you're doing offline stuff, you're gathering emails, you're doing in-person fairs or shows, you're posting a ton every day on the socials. That's all good. That's amazing. That's incredible. That is likely going to lead to this vintage being a particularly good year for you. Okay. What you can't do though is go dark. You can't lose all your momentum. A momentum in an art business, especially stretched out over an art business of 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 years, which all of you pretty much have left, the momentum is life. The momentum is everything. And if you're posting daily now and life happens, you can go down to weekly. If you're posting weekly now and life happens, you can go to monthly. If you're posting monthly and life happens, you can go to quarterly. Just don't go dark. Just don't go dark. Sounds like a small thing. It's absolutely not. In the podcast episode, I put this in, and I thought it was really, really interesting because, score yourself 1 to 5 on each. Do you have a website that you own? Okay. Is it matching my parameters? And really, if this talk resonated with you, I highly recommend that you go and listen to the actual podcast episode. It's called the Art Marketing Podcast, and it's on Apple, YouTube, everywhere. Go listen to it anyway. score yourself 1 to 5 on each of these, right? Print on demand range, email list is growing. Are you running real campaigns? Are you telling your story, right? Are you consistent? And one of the things that was really interesting, I had a comment, and this might be a little bit small, but I'll read it so you guys can hear it. I just finished the episode now. I heard your homework and instantly dropped this prop into Gemini. On my website, I need to rank my performance on a scale of 1 to 5 in the following categories. Do I have good SEO? Can people find me when they type in my name? Can I optimize for better AI search? Okay. There's more meat in the podcast episode than what I'm telling you now. Am I taking advantage of print on demand, offering products at casual impulse purchases, entry-level, mid-tier, and high-end price points? Do I have an email list? Do I contact subscribers? Am I running marketing sales campaigns? Am I telling my story? Can people learn a ton about me just from my website? How consistent am I, right? So he ran all of this. He said he put it into Gemini, which is his AI du jour, and he scored 3 or higher, but he's got some stuff to work on, right? And shout out to Jeremy for sending that. I thought that was awesome. That was really, really, really good feedback. All of this is so critically important, you guys. And like the cautionary tale, and if you're in this age range, right? There's still hope, right? I'm not trying to say like stop, right? There's some 85-year-olds that are absolutely rocking, but the cautionary tale is like, I don't want you to be an 85-year-old creator, okay, that had every one of these years available, had those years in your 40s, had them in the 50s, had them in the 60s, had them in the 70s, had them in the early 80s, and you let them go, and you didn't take care of the basics, right? You got to get the basics right. And if you get the basics right and you just focus on that, when you do get to those years, I am confident that you are going to have a healthy art business, right? I am confident that you are going to have an extremely healthy art business. I'm confident that you're not going to be going, how am I going to get my artwork in front of anybody? I don't have any of that going on. And it's just a serious cautionary tale on all of it. And I'll say one thing as a final and wrap it up, and then I'll get to any questions that you guys have. I know there's a bunch in there. My dad died when he was 60. Okay. And since then, I've taken like health, longevity, wellness, all of that very, very seriously. Studied a bunch, read a bunch, followed all the influencers in the space. And, in my dad's era, he was in international banking. So when I was a kid, he was like, for 15 years, maybe, he was like home for 2 weeks, gone for 3 weeks, home for 3 weeks, gone for a month, like boom, 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 hopping time zones all over the place, all the time, like crazy. And come to find out that doing that all the time is like one of the most brutal, right, things for your sleep. And we have learned so much since his generation. Things about how important sleep is, about how important diet is, about how important exercise is, about the epigenome, okay? Peptides, cold plunge, saunas, microplastics, on and on and on and on and on, about sitting, the whole thing, right? So I've taken all of that very, very seriously in my personal life, not wanting to, die young like my dad did at 60. And I don't know if you guys have followed this space or not, but it is getting out of control. Okay, it's getting out of control. There's one guy that I follow. His name is David Sinclair. He's got this book. I think, what's the book called? Outlive, maybe, or maybe I confused this book with another one. Anyway, it doesn't matter. He's like the preeminent longevity scientist, or one of that at Harvard. And in the end of his book, which was written like 10 years ago, he's like, there's someone alive on this planet right now that is going to hit 150 years old. And that was 10 years ago. Like, what is happening? One is a result of people being more switched on about health. Okay. Doctors, scientists, across the board. 2, AI unlocking all of this information that was never around before. 3, testing becoming cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, and more of it being done, not just at like some esoteric lab, but by like, regular everyday people. Wearables, right? Like, I think the vast majority of crazy diseases are going to be solved in 7 to 10 years. So when I go back and we talk about like how much time you actually have to get the basics right in your art business, like I honestly think all of us are going to be living a lot longer, right? There's like the two famous stories. There was one Aussie guy, dog had cancer, went to the vet. Vet ran all the tests, said, sorry, there's nothing we can do. He takes all of the test data, goes and puts it into GPT. The GPT finds something that the doctors didn't, fixes his dog. That was 3 years ago, and I think the dog is still alive. Recently, there's a Dutch CEO, and he is a Dutch CEO of, it's called GitLabs, I think the company is, and it's something tech related, whatever. He gets gnarly cancer. And he goes and sees the doctors, right? And the doctors are essentially like, start working on your bucket list, right? Start working on your bucket list. And he's like, no, I'm not going to do that. He took 25 terabytes of health data. And obviously this guy had a lot of resources, so he was able to hit it. But 25 terabytes of health data, he put it into ChatGPT. He designed a regime completely unique to his epigenome and his genome, and completely cured his own cancer. Okay. With a regimen that was specific to him, his body type, his blood type, protein, the whole thing. And he is now completely healthy and well. So I think all of us have a lot longer to live on this planet. And it's time to start thinking about that 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years that maybe a lot of you guys have left to get the art business right. And that starts on the basics, you guys. That starts on the basics. I can't read the small little words. So it's DJ Lana or Lana, whatever. I know you, but yeah, people are asking what like a VCR or a pager was. I totally had a pager in high school. Like the young minds, my kids are like 8 and 10. They can't wrap their heads around what the heck that was, and why I was even there. But go listen to the podcast episode, you guys. It's good. It has more of it in depth. I go into some of like the SEO things. There's some additional things in there, from the list, some additional meat on those bones, and like a little bit better articulation in the podcast if you were vibing on that talk. But we've got to get these 6 basics right. You got to have them right. Got to own your own website. Okay. You got to leverage print on demand. You've got to capture email every which way you can. You need to be running marketing and sales campaigns. They will be crappy ones to start. That's totally okay, right? I got to know what your story is. Everyone's got to know what your story is, right? We just need to know. And you need to show up consistently. You cannot go dark, okay? Cannot go dark. So that's what I've got. Thanks for sticking with me on a Friday. Hope you enjoyed it, got value out of it. Have a great weekend, everybody. And the basics, got to do the basics. Thanks for listening, guys.